Hello, I am Shruti. I run this project called Forgotten Greens, which is a social media project where I talk about urban foraging and foraging, rural foraging, but mostly urban foraging. My interest is in traditional, seasonal, and local foods. Yeah, and I'll share more about what brings me here is that content creation and this work can be lonely. And when Sanchita told me about this, I felt like I'll meet more people, and that would cross pollination was exciting, and that's why I came here. Thank you. Hello, everyone. So, like I shared before, my project is called Forgotten Greens. And I'll share a little bit about the journey so far. Next slide. So, you can do a. Yeah. So, Forgotten Greens started as a Facebook page back in 2018. After my post-graduation from TIS, I was working with an NGO in Andhra and Telangana, and I worked there for a long time, and that's when I started learning about wild food and local and seasonal foods, and I was really excited about things that I've been taught while growing up. I've been told that it is poisonous, was being consumed by these people. And it was delicious food, so I was a researcher, so I was like, okay, let me, document this research. I would ask them these questions, and that's how one day, out of excitement, I started a Facebook page just to share. Another reason why I started the Facebook page was because whenever I would research about these food or plants online, I won't find anything that's situated in the Indian context. It would either be a very scientific paper, or it would be something written by some person from the global north. Um, so I felt like I wanted to create a platform that talked about wild food from the Indian context. And over time, since 2018, over time, I also realized that this wild food is not just part of the Adivasi communities or the Dalit communities that I worked with, but it was also part of my own ancestral roots, which we have forgotten. And this platform has become a way for me to connect back to my own ancestors. In 2019, I migrated to Instagram because that's where all the cool people were, and I thought, I need to also be there. And 2020 onwards, my page gained a lot of traction because I think COVID lockdown really made people to slow down, look what's growing around them, and they started approaching me, and they started asking me, what are these plants? And that's how my content creation also took shape. And since then, I've also been, my work evolved into offering workshops. I do something called wild food walks in different cities, urban foraging, herbalism. And my focus is on engaging with urban audience because I feel urban spaces, our cities in India are parasitic in nature. We consume so much, and my hope is that through my work I can empower them to learn what's growing around them, because there's a lot of food that's growing in the cities. There's a lot of food growing in TIS campus. Yesterday I was walking and I was seeing, and I was like, wow, there's so much here already. So I also do a lot of, my content revolves around different themes. One is decolonizing food systems, and in the Indian context, decolonizing from the market system and also the caste angle, because a lot of times caste is not talked about when we talk, when food content is created on social media. It is sometimes very flashy, it's very nice, but it never talks about the lived realities or the caste realities. So I try to talk about it to whatever extent I can. I also talk about folk herbalism, because herbalism, Ayurveda, Siddha are systems that came together during, especially Ayurveda, came during the colonial period. Before that, it was people's knowledge. So I try to talk about that also. And also, I make sure that whoever has shared their knowledge with me, I talk about them. So this is not Forgotten Greens knowledge, but it is knowledge of people who have shared it with me. So I make sure that I acknowledge that. Next slide. So every year it's an ever-evolving journey. I travel to different places to learn about wild food because I feel like creating content, can be very stagnant if I'm not going and meeting communities. So it's like an ever-evolving journey. This year I did a cycling journey in Tamil Nadu, went and stayed with people to learn about what they cook, their local food. And yeah, my content is primarily curated and shared via Instagram, but I've also started writing for other journals and also online workshops where I share my information. Hopefully, I want to start a YouTube channel because that's where the monetization happens, and have a website of my own, because if something happens to Instagram, I need other places to share the work. And also, hopefully, I publish a book someday. So those who have connections here, I'm just putting it across. My audience is mainly urban and peri-urban social media users. I have a lot of people from small towns who reach out to me and say, oh, this is something we used to consume, and this is something my grandmother used to cook, or my great-grandmother or mother used to cook. So a lot of people from peri-urban spaces. And also people who are interested in sustainable living, permaculture, urban gardening, which is becoming a trend right now, which is good. So why not use it to talk about wild food in urban spaces? Next. The challenges that I have personally come across, one is to stay constantly, to work on content creation and staying relevant, because these platforms, especially Instagram, is constantly changing, algorithm, this, that, hashtags, and that's a huge, it's a challenge, but I enjoy working with this platform. I've learned to enjoy working with this platform, so figuring it out. Non-monetization of content on Instagram, and that's why, other platforms that can monetize this work, because it's a lot of work, yeah. It's a lot of work that goes into researching, documenting, and then creating content that people find engaging. It's a full-time work, but it does not pay. So I have to do other work that pays my bills. So it's a very imbalanced work right now that I experience. Also, over the years, I've experienced that the audience that's consuming the knowledge through the page, before they used to engage with the knowledge that's shared, but now they have become consumers. So there's like demand, why don't you share about this, and why don't you share about that? Which is a very interesting trend that's happening, because, they don't want to take ownership of because whenever I create the content, I say that go ahead, do the research in your own language, tell us what it is in your regional language, how is it cooked in your regional language, but now people want all of that to be shared, and they just want to consume. So that's also a big challenge that's happening. Yeah, that's about it. Thank you.